Part 2, Chapters 8 and 9 of Charles Rex by Ethel M. Dell. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. 8. The Ally. A squeal of childish laughter echoed down the long passage that led from the nurseries, followed by a shuffling sound along the floor. "Hold tight!" cried a voice, a gay boyish voice. "I'm going to gallop." There followed a tremendous scrambling along the corridor and shrieks of delight from 3 excited children. Jake, who had just mounted the stairs, paused in his progress. But in a moment there came a dramatic sound indicative of collapse, and immediately there arose cries of dismay. He turned an intervening corner and came upon the newly arrived guest, quite prone upon the floor, with his 3 little girls scuffling in delighted agitation over an inert body. He hesitated to interrupt the game, but in an instant Betty, the youngest, had spied him, and uttered a shrill cry of welcome. The heap upon the floor swiftly resolved itself into 4 separate beings, and the newcomer sprang up with the litheness of a squirrel, and met him with a free grace that was not without a suggestion of defiance. He held out his hand to her. He understood the defiance, and replied to it with characteristic directness. "Guess you thought me a rough sort of animal when we met in the paddock this afternoon," he said. "I'm sorry. It was Bunny I was up against, not you." "Not me," said Toby, her wide eyes lifted quite openly to his. "Sure." He pinched the slim young hand without ceremony. Somehow she took him by storm, this girl with the open brow and curiously pathetic face. "Well, not so much you," he said. "Bunny knows that gambling on a big scale is against the law for children of his age." "Oh, I see," said Toby. She smiled and slipped her hand free. "Well, I'm years older than he is, so that doesn't apply to me. Bunny wasn't doing any gambling either." "I gathered that," said Jake. She stopped and lifted Molly, the second child, partially veiling her own face with the little girl's soft curls. "Then you are up against me," she said. "No, I'm not." Jake's voice held a queer, compassionate note. "We won't quarrel till we know each other better, anyway. I see you're pretty intimate with the youngsters already." "Oh, that's easy, isn't it?" said Toby. "Babies always take you at your face value. They are never prejudiced beforehand. There's never any handicap of that sort with babies." Betty was clambering at her knees. She bent and lifted her also, bracing her slight form to a double burden of which Jake instantly relieved her, gathering both children into his own strong arms. "You're not to do that ever again," he said with the authority of the man accustomed to obedience. "Understand?" "Why not?" said Toby. He turned to carry the 2 babies to the nursery. "Because I say it," he said briefly. "Oh, but that's no reason," said Toby with light assurance. Eileen, at her side, looked up in shocked amazement. "Not if daddy says so?" she questioned. Toby stooped and swung her up to her shoulder. "You little featherweight, daddy's only a man," she said. "Quite true," said Jake deliberately. "The sort of man who means what he says, always, and sees that he gets it." "What a frightful undertaking," laughed Toby. "Then if you told me to go to blazes you'd see that I went?" There was a pause. Eileen's little hands locked themselves nervously under Toby's chin. Perhaps she was aware of a certain electricity in the atmosphere. She was plainly not at her ease. Jake's voice sounded, very quiet and distinct, from the nursery door as he entered. "I reckon that's just one of the things I've learnt not to say." "Oh, glory!" said Toby. "There goes the odd trick." It was several minutes later, after a wild final romp, that they left the room together. There was certainly no ceremony left between them. They came out as comrades, laughing at the same joke, their brief passage at arms apparently forgotten. Toby, however, reverted to it very suddenly as they walked along the passage. "Mr. Bolton, I'm sorry I got Bunny into hot water this afternoon. It was all my fault. And I'm sorry I said blazes in front of the babies just now. You'll have to kick me when I do these things, and then I'll remember." Jake paused and looked at her. "Say, are you a boy or a girl?" he said. She smiled, a faintly dubious smile, but her reply was prompt. "Mostly boys, sir. That's what makes it so difficult." He put his hand on her shoulder. "Look here. Call me Jake, see? Are you keen on horses?" Toby's eyes shone. "Like mad," she said. "I'll see you ride to-morrow," said Jake. Toby whooped with delight. "But I'll have to borrow some breeches from someone. You don't want me to ride in a skirt, do you?" "Not especially," said Jake. "What do you generally ride in?" "Tights," said Toby, and then suddenly clapped her hand to her mouth in dismay. "There, now I've done it. You won't tell, you'll never tell, will you? Promise." "Sure," said Jake. He was smiling a little, but there was compassion in his eyes. And Toby's hand came out to him in sudden confidence. "I like you," she said. "You're a friend." Jake's grasp was strong and kindly. "I guess I shan't let you down," he said. Toby nodded. "You've been a cowboy, haven't you? I knew that directly I saw you." "I've been a good many things," said Jake. She nodded again. "And always the right sort. I wish " She broke off abruptly. "What?" said Jake. "Oh, nothing," said Toby, with a rather wistful little laugh. "Let's have it," said Jake. Her hand lay in his, and this time she left it there. Her blue eyes met his courageously. "Only that I'd met you before," she said. "Before when?" said Jake. "Before you met Saltash?" "Oh, no." Very swiftly she answered him. "Oh, no. Lord Saltash is among the kings. I'd have been dead by now but for him." Her eyes kindled, as with a sudden glowing memory she flushed like an eager child. "You know him," she said. "Isn't he fine?" She spoke with reverence, even with a certain awe. The man's face changed a little, hardening almost imperceptibly. "Guess he's no great hero of mine," he said. "But maybe he has his points." "He has," Toby assured him with fervor. "You don't know him like I do. He's a masterpiece." "That's so," said Jake. Perhaps Toby felt a lack of sympathy in his tone. She quitted the subject abruptly. "No, that wasn't what I meant. I only wish I'd met you long ago, years and years ago, when you were a cowboy." "You were a babe in arms then," said Jake. She shook her head, quaintly smiling. "I wasn't ever that. I think I must have been born old. Began at the wrong end, somehow. Some people do, you know." "I know," said Jake. "When that happens there's only one thing to be done." "What?" queried Toby. His eyes were watching her intently, but there was nothing alarming in their scrutiny. He made reply with absolute gentleness. "Begin again." "Ah." A little sound that was more than a sigh escaped her, and then, quite suddenly, her other hand came out to him. She lifted a quivering face. "You going to help me?" she said. The action touched him. He took her by the shoulders as he might have taken a boy. "I'll help you," he said. "You'll be good to me?" Her voice was quivering also. It had a sound of tears. "Sure," said Jake, laconic and forceful. "Keep me straight and pull me up when I go wrong?" pursued Toby tremulously. "Yes, I'll do that," he said. "And you won't talk to anybody about me?" she pleaded. "No," said Jake, briefly. "Not to Lord Saltash? Not to anyone?" "No," he said again, a hint of sternness in the curt word. Toby gulped down her distress, was silent for a moment or two, then suddenly smiled upon him, a sunny, inconsequent smile. "Guess I've got you on my side now," she said with satisfaction. "You're nice and solid, Mr. Jake Bolton. When you've been picked up from the very bottom of the sea, it's good to have someone big and safe to hold on to." "That's so," said Jake. "Yes, I know now why Lord Saltash sent me here. Just because you're big and safe." "Oh, quite safe," said Jake with his sudden smile. It came to him, as it had come to Saltash, that there was something piteously like a small animal storm driven and seeking refuge about her. Even in her merriest moments she seemed to plead for kindness. He patted her shoulder reassuringly as he let her go. "I'll look after you," he said, "if you play the game." "What game?" said Toby unexpectedly. He looked her squarely in the eyes. "The only game worth playing," he said. "The straight game." "Oh, I see," said Toby with much meekness. "Not cheat, you mean. Lord Saltash doesn't allow cheating either." "Good land!" said Jake in open astonishment. "You don't know him," said Toby again, with conviction. And Jake laughed, good humoured but skeptical. "Maybe I have something to learn yet," he said tolerantly. "But it's my impression that for sheer mischief and double dealing he could knock spots off any other human being on this earth." "Oh, if that's all you know about him," said Toby, "you've never even met him. Never once." "Have you?" questioned Jake abruptly. She coloured up to the soft hair that clustered about her blue veined temples, and turned from him with an odd little indrawn breath. "Yes," she said. "Yes." Paused an instant, as if about to say more, then again in a whisper. "Yes," she said, and went lightly away as if the subject were too sacred for further discussion. "Good land!" said Jake again, and departed to his own room in grim amazement. Saltash the sinner was well known to him, and by no means uncongenial; but Saltash the saint, not only beloved, but reverenced and enshrined as such, as something beyond his comprehension. How on earth had he managed to achieve his sainthood? 9. The Idol. "Well," said Saltash, with quizzical interest, "where is she? And how is she getting on?" It was Sunday afternoon of his promised visit, a day soft with spring showers and fleeting sunshine. Maud sat in a basket chair on the veranda and regarded him with puzzled eyes. She passed his questions by. "Charlie," she said, "where does she come from?" He raised his shoulders expressively. "Where do all women come from? And why, chère reine? It would be such a peaceful planet without them." He was in a baffling mood, and she knew better than to pursue the subject under those conditions. She abandoned her effort with a sigh. "She is not a woman. She is a child, very charming, but utterly irresponsible. She is in the training field just now with Jake and Bunny. She is a positive delight to Jake. She can do anything with the horses." "But not such a delight to you," suggested Saltash shrewdly. Maud hesitated momentarily. "I love her, of course," she said then. "But, though I have tried to make her feel at ease, I think she is a little afraid of me, afraid anyhow to be quite natural in my presence." "But are we any of us that?" protested Saltash. "Are we not all on our best behaviour in the audience chamber?" Maud sighed again. "They are all great pals," she said irrelevantly. "She and Bunny are terribly reckless. I hope they won't break their necks before they have done." "Or their hearts?" suggested Saltash, looking mischievous. She smiled. "I don't think there is much danger of that, anyhow at present. She is a positive child, Charlie, as young as Eileen in many ways, or perhaps younger. Shall we walk down to the field and look at them?" "Your servant, madam," said Saltash readily. He was on his feet in an instant, and she realized that he had been chafing to go since the moment of his arrival. "You take a great interest in her," she remarked as they walked along the terrace. He made his most appalling grimace. "I have never had an infant to look after before," he said, "and I have to make my report to Larpent." "Ah! How is he?" questioned Maud. He shot her a swift glance. "Is the child anxious?" "Not in the least. I don't believe she ever thinks about him. She told me on the first day that she hardly knows him." Saltash laughed. "How honest of her! Well, he's getting better, but he won't be well yet. May I leave her in your charge a while longer?" "Of course," Maud said warmly. "I love to have her, and she is a great help to me, too. The children simply worship her, and she is splendid with them. I believe Eileen will very soon get over her dread of riding." "Toby can ride?" asked Saltash. "Oh, yes, like a cowboy. She is amazingly fearless, and never minds a tumble in the least. She can do the most extraordinary things exactly like a boy. I am always afraid of her coming to grief, but she never does." "Funny little beggar," said Saltash. "I am quite sure of one thing," pursued Maud. "She never learnt these things at any school. She tells me she has been to a good many." "I believe that's true," said Saltash. "I imagine she's fairly quick to pick up anything, but I haven't known her myself for long." "She must have picked up a good deal on the night moth," observed Maud unexpectedly. He glanced at her again. "Why do you say that? She was under my protection, and Larpent's on the night moth." "I know. She idolizes you." Maud smiled at him somewhat dubiously. "But she must have mixed fairly freely with the crew to have picked up the really amazing language she sometimes uses." Saltash's brows worked whimsically. "Some of us have a gift that way," he remarked. "Your worthy Jake, for instance." "Oh, Jake is a reformed character," she interrupted. "He hardly ever lets himself go nowadays. And he won't allow it from Bunny. But Toby never seems to know the good from the bad." "Has Jake taken her in hand?" asked Saltash, with a chuckle. "Oh, yes. He checks her at every turn. I must say she takes it very sweetly, even offered to take her meals in her room yesterday when he was rather down on her. It absolutely disarmed Jake, of course. What could he say?" "Yes, she's a disarming monkey, certainly," agreed Saltash. "But I never was great on the management and discipline of children. So she knocks under to the great Jake, does she?" "Oh, not entirely." Maud laughed a little. "Only this morning they had a battle. I don't know how it is going to end yet. But she can be very firm." "She never tried any battles with me," said Saltash, with some complacence. "No. But then your sense of duty is more elastic than Jake's. You never, probably, asked her to do anything she didn't want to do." "Can't remember," said Saltash. "What did Jake want?" Maud's smile lingered. "You'll laugh, of course. But Jake is quite right, whatever you do. He wanted her to go to church with little Eileen and me this morning. She's only a child, you know, and he naturally took it for granted that she was going. We both did. But just at the last moment she absolutely refused, told him quite frankly that she was an atheist." Saltash's laugh had a sound half mocking, half exultant. "What said the worthy Jake to that? Stop, I know what he said. He said, 'You can call yourself by any fool name you please, but you've got to go to church like a respectable citizen if I say so.' Wasn't that it?" "Something like it," Maud admitted. "How did you know?" "Oh, I know Jake," said Saltash dryly. "And what happened then? She refused?" "Yes, she refused. She was frightened, but she refused. She looked as if she were going to run away, but in the end Jake went off with her to the stables, saying they would go to night. They were quite friends when I saw them again, but she had been crying, poor little thing. I wish I could help her, but somehow I can't get near enough. Jake seems to understand her best." "Wonder if she will give in," said Saltash. They were passing through a shrubbery that led to the training field, and there came the quick thud of hoofs galloping on short turf as they approached. "I don't think there is much doubt about that," Maud said. Saltash laughed again mockingly. "Oh, we all know Jake is invincible, virtuous rectitude incarnate. But you can't hammer a girl into submission like a boy, and I rather fancy that Toby is not wholly ignorant of the art of getting her own way." "Jake never hammered Bunny," Maud said quietly, "but he manages him notwithstanding." They rounded a curve and came upon the gate that led into the field. The galloping hoofs were close to them. As they reached the corner two riders flashed past at full speed. One of them, Bunny, lay on his horse's neck, yelling wild encouragement to his mount. The other, a slight childish figure, was kneeling on the saddle like a small crouching creature, perfectly poised and wholly unafraid. As the horse that carried her dropped to a canter on the hill, she got to her feet with absolute ease, and stood, arms out and swaying to the animal's motion, till, as they rounded another curve, she dropped to the saddle again and passed from sight, following in Bunny's tracks. "Quite a pretty exhibition," remarked Saltash. "Where is Jake?" Jake himself appeared at the moment, riding soberly, mounted on his favourite horse, the 100th Chance. He greeted Saltash with a smile and jumped to the ground to join them at the gate. "They'll be round again directly. Just riding off their spirits," he explained in his easy drawl. "You motored over, my lord?" Saltash nodded with a touch of impatience. He was watching with restless eyes for the reappearance of the girl on horseback. She had not seen him at the gate, yet somehow his arrogance rebelled at the fact that she had passed him by. Jake stood with the 100th chance nuzzling against him. He did not trouble himself to make conversation. That was not his way. He also waited for the reappearance of the riders. They came riding side by side and jesting with careless camaraderie. Toby's face was delicately flushed. The fair head had no covering. She was dressed and looked exactly like a boy. At sight of Saltash standing by the gate her whole attitude changed. She uttered a queer sound, half whoop, half sob, and flung herself out of the saddle. In a moment she had reached him, was hanging to his arm in mute greeting, everything else in the world forgotten. It was pathetically like the reunion of a lost dog to its master. Saltash's ugly face softened miraculously at her action. The jest died on his lips. "Why, Nonette," he said, "Nonette!" She strangled another sob. Her face was burning, quivering, appealing, no longer the face of a boy. "I thought you'd forgotten to come," she said. "What? Was I expected to lunch?" said Saltash. "Ah! Was that why you wouldn't go to church?" Toby looked up, desperately smiling. "It may have been, partly. But I never do go. Do you?" "Not often," said Saltash. "I might if I stayed here. There's no knowing. You'll be pleased to hear your daddy is better. He's coming down to the castle to convalesce. And when he's done that I'm going to have a party, a coming out party, for you." "For me?" Toby gasped, staring at him with scared blue eyes. "I hope you won't, sir," she said. He laughed back at her, his brows working mischievously. "Mais pourquoi pas, mignonne? You are old enough. Maud will come and be hostess, won't you, Maud? You shall have Jake, too, for a watch dog, if you want him. After that you shall be presented at court, when you've learnt to curtsy prettily instead of turning somersaults. You must let your hair grow, Nonette, and leave off wearing breeks. You've got to be a credit to me." "Oh, damn!" said Toby in dismay. "Oh, bother!" "Yes, it's a good thing you mean only that, isn't it?" laughed Saltash. "If you go on wearing those masculine things much longer you'll have Jake punching your head for little slips of that kind. He's getting mighty particular, I'm told." "Not afraid of Jake," said Toby, casting a swift look at her host. Jake was lighting his pipe. His face wore a faint smile. He was holding Toby's animal as well as his own. "Aren't you going to ride again?" he said. "No," said Toby. "Oh, come on." Bunny pushed his horse forward without dismounting. "Glad to see you, Charlie, but we must have one more gallop. Come on, Toby, be a sport." But Toby, still holding Saltash's sleeve, would not so much as look at him. "Not coming," she said tersely. Saltash laughed. Bunny colored suddenly and hotly. "Oh, all right," he said, and wheeling his horse rode away. "Now you've hurt his little feelings," observed Saltash. "Who cares?" said Toby, and nestled closer, till with his sudden reckless grin he thrust an arm about her shoulders. "I'll tell you what it is, Nonette. You're getting spoilt all round. Something will have to be done. Shall I take her away, Jake?" "And bring me back when I'm good," put in Toby eagerly. He laughed and pinched her ear. "I shall want to keep you myself when you're good. I haven't yet found anyone to sew on buttons like you do. No, ma chère, you'll have to stay and be caned for your sins. Jake is a better schoolmaster than I am, being so eminently virtuous himself. I hope you do cane her, Jake. I'm sure she needs it." "No," said Jake, preparing to mount again. "I haven't tried that at present." Toby watched him a little wistfully as he moved away, leading her horse. "I am trying to be good," she said. "He knows that." "Yes, she's trying hard," Maud said very kindly. "Jake and I are going to be proud of her some day." Saltash's brows twisted humorously. "I wonder," he said, and then again lightly he laughed. "Don't get too good, Nonette. I can't rise to it." She turned swiftly, looking up into the derisive face above her with open adoration in her own. "You?" she said. "You?" "Well, what about me?" he said. She coloured very deeply. "Nothing, sir, nothing. Only you're so great." He flicked her cheek, grimacing hideously. "Is that your pretty way of telling me I'm the biggest rotter you ever met?" "Oh no," said Toby, quickly and earnestly. "Oh no. I think you are a king. If anyone could make me believe in God, you could." She spoke with a sincerity that held a hint of passion. The grimace flicked out of Saltash's face like a picture from a screen. For a moment he had the blank look of a man who has been hit, he knows not where. Then with lightning swiftness his eyes went to Maud. "You hear that?" he said, almost on a note of challenge. "Why don't you laugh?" She met his look with absolute steadfastness. There was a certain pity in her own. "Because," she said with great gentleness, "I believe that it is true." In the silence that followed she waited for his own laugh of mockery and did not hear it. The odd eyes comprehended her, and passed her by, fell abruptly to Toby, and dwelt upon her with a whimsical tenderness. "I always said you were a little ass, didn't I, Toby?" he said. And Toby turned with an apologetic murmur and softly kissed his hand. End of Part 2, Chapters 8 and 9.